So running cards like Airbound Barrage and Spring Green Protection, so he can use that with the Airbound Barrage, is actually a really smart line of play. And I think that will make the difference between him winning or losing the matches that he plays out.
Well, we'll see if that works out for him. It looks like the two decks that he's going to be running with is PDK as well as Neutral Forest against. He lets the D shift through, and this is what you guys were talking about. And Underwear also has his Forest list available, but he won't be able to play Dragon, so let's see how this plays out.
That's right. And one of the other things I wanted to add was one of the problems I thought Neutral Forest had, and just briefly to touch on to it before we get back into this game, is I think Staircase is actually terrible in Neutral Forest because they don't have those board fills that the other decks do. So it just pops super late. And instead he's paying Bellringer Angels and Spring Green Protections to just have more active card draw on the deck, which I actually really, really like.
Yeah, that's fair. There's one thing I'll add to that about Neutral Forest. And one of the things that happens with Neutral Forest very often is you kind of just, play one thing at a time with that deck.
Exactly.
So just kind of going along with what you were saying. You just play one thing at a time, and that's not very good. It's not good, especially when you see decks that are playing 2, 3, 4 things at a time usually in their turns. Neutral Forest is not a deck that tends to do that. So anyway, back to this game.
Back to this game. That's right. So Underwear has a pretty good draw here. Has his D-Shift early, has a Fate's Hand to push, but he does have a rather expensive hand outside of that with the Chimera, and now drawing into another D-Shift here, but along with some other cheap spells. So actually not looking too bad right now.
No, his hand's looking pretty promising. He does have the Flame Destroyer. He does have the Chimera. He has a Fiery Embrace that's already at 4. He does still have a Golem, so he can at least do a little bit of damage. Of course, we see Sybil, and we know that's going to get undone. But and we know that most of D-Shift's Evos aren't particularly that important unless you're using like Owl or Merlin, but he doesn't have access to either one of those cards right now. So D-Shift pushing some damage, definitely not a bad decision.
Not a bad decision. It's a little interesting in my mind, though, because you kind of expect Sybil at this point, and using your Evo here realistically doesn't... It gives you 1 damage over the course of the game, which might matter. But not the biggest.
Tends to matter though.
It
does tend to matter, especially when you're fighting Dragon.
With D-Shift though, maybe 1 damage matters.
Maybe. Hey, one is a big number, my man.
I agree with you in most scenarios. D-Shift though, maybe. I don't know.
I would want to. With his hand as it is right now, I would want to get any amount of damage I could get it. Those angelic snipes, that stuff adds up. Even with the Sybil, we know that it's possible, but even with those, I'd still want to be like, yo, man, you have to do something about it. Have to, period.
And now we get to see Chimera, one of the newest additions to the D-Shift deck, just do what it does and clear up an entire board while leaving a pretty big threat behind. This is a nice thing. Like, I was always against this card, right? You know this because we talked about it. And now it's just like it leaves this huge threat after clearing a board that you have to deal with, and it just prolongs the game, which is exactly what you want to be doing.
Yeah. Chimera is one of those cards that we didn't know where it had a home. You know what I mean? Right. That's what its problem was. We didn't know what to do with it. We're like, Chimera. Why would I play that card? And now we see, Chimera. That's why we play that card. Because it can't do things.
That's right. And honestly, Underwear has a perfect hand to deal with this. Leaving the 6/5 in play on red side of the board means he's not going to actually be able to deal with it after this turn, and it might just run away with the game with a single D-Shift in another turn here too. So, or even just by itself without a D-Shift if he just ignores it, right?
Yeah, if he ignores that, which I don't think he should.
Well, I think it's late now. There's not an easy answer to it anymore.
No, it's not. I mean, his hand is not good, Reds. I mean,
right.
That's not promising. I mean, this could lead to something, but it's still not promising. Oh, well, never mind.
Okay.
It became
when you draw Ivory Dragon into another good spell like Scyther, good job. I like this. And he's got the Blazing Breath to clean up here. So actually, from going to, oh no, how is he going to win this game, to, okay, never mind. PDK, Ivory Dragon, we're in this.
Well, that deck does tend to do that. It tends
Sure.
to, well, it's just cycled through a lot of cards with Dragon Summoner and Ivory Dragon. So it does do that. The likelihood of you not getting your answers is pretty slim. You know, slim to none.
It's insane to me to see the shift in Ivory Dragon. Ivory Dragon was always just a decent value card, but with PDK, it's absolutely absurd. It just finds you so much gas in the late game. It's absolutely incredible.
Now, on the topic of PDK, we know the changes for the upcoming with the patch, which I believe is tomorrow. So today will be the last day that people can play PDK in its current iteration. My question to you is, do you think people will continue to play PDK after the change?
I want to say 100%, but I'm not 100%, right? I think the card is still good, and Staircase to Paradise didn't change. It just slows the deck down by a marginal amount, but I don't think that matters too much. We don't really see PDK winning by margins. It kind of just runs away with most games, so I don't think people will stop playing it. It just won't be as potent as it was because it's easier to deal with now.
That's fair. That's fair. So
I mean, by all means, it could die off, but I don't think so.
I don't think it's going to die off either. I think that people will just tweak their decks a little bit with their curves, but the deck may still see some play.
Right. And here,
so
we get to see some crazy turns. D-shift for value here. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that Chimera is not that big in terms of like damage, because he just drew it like a turn or two ago. So it's not that big on damage.
That's right, but he does get some breathing room here.
Yeah, like it's like trying to breathe in a plastic bag and someone pokes the smallest hole possible.
Hey man, any time you can take a breath against PDK, it feels kind of good.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Oh, boom, boom, boom. Well, he does clear the board with Dyke. So hope that it's good enough.
And honestly, if Red doesn't win this turn, that's going to be lights out.
It's a good game, yeah. Well, let's see. If he can get... Oh, that's not going to do it.
No, needs to get his third Scyther right now off this Dragon Summoner to win this game.
Oh, that's not a Scyther. Oh, somebody's about to take a juicy out of the face.
However, he did draw enough to be able to kill that giant Chimera. So I don't know if lethal's actually possible anymore.
Well, he doesn't have lethal, or Underwear rather, doesn't have lethal right now. He will be able to put up a wall of wards, but yeah.
I mean, it might be enough. It just depends on if that PDK finds more gas, because at the moment there aren't any extra damage spells in hand, essentially with 3 costs or less Dragon Followers. But yeah, and he can just fill up with an entire entry of wards here.
Well, unfortunately, he can only play 1 ward. That's the problem. He plays the Golem Assault, and yeah, he can actually only play 1 ward.
He could have played 2 if he didn't cast any other spells.
Well, right.
He decided
he played the Kaleidoscopic Blow.
I don't like that play at all. That essentially just gave fuel to Red. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just gave Red the game.
Of course, you can't know your opponent doesn't have any 2 or less costs, but giving 1 back in your hand, especially one that fetches another one, when you're at 2.
You don't have to kill PDK.
Right. But now he's drawing into spells. He just drew into Wind Blasts, so, and he's got the Chimera, so he would have been almost in there had he not bounced that and played some wards. But now, of course, without the wards, we see Genesis Dragon.
CL to his dome. Sorry, man.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. Sorry, dude. Sometimes you just gotta take a loss.
So let me talk to you about Genesis Dragon, because I think this is one of the most flavorful cards in the game because of its attack animation. It's a huge dragon, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't breathe fire. It blows bubbles.
It blows water at you. Yeah.
Yeah. What? Explain to me why Genesis Dragon blows bubbles. Like, I understand Genesis, we all came from water and, yada, yada, yada. Water is life. It's
I mean, listen to
bubbles?
his lines. His
Bubbles?
line is, okay, for creation, there was destruction.
Yeah, but
Line.
back to my point. Bubbles.
But it's water, though. Like, okay. Like, the only other person who actually uses water is Sybil, right? The only person?
Sure.
Okay, but she splashes water on you. Do you really see Genesis Dragon splashing water on you? No! He's there to obliterate your face.
But, Bahamut has a huge laser beam, right? Like, huge laser beam right to your dome piece, right? Genesis Dragon, could be blowing crazy amounts of water in your face, too, not just bubbles. That's pretty tame.
Fair. That's fair.
All right, looks like we have a couple technical difficulties.
Do you think Genesis Dragon has like a device that helps him blow bubbles?
No, it's all natural, man.
He's a dragon, Arthur, okay? He doesn't need any help to blow up bubbles, okay?
Well, it's like...
See, now you're defending the bubbles.
It's like...
Well, I mean, he's a dragon. He can do whatever he wants. I'm just saying bubbles is weird, man.
Well, what if he...
to him.
Yeah, I was just... I'm just putting it out there. If a dragon, like, breathes just straight fire, maybe he breathes straight water, or he just breathes wind, but there still needs to be a device that needs to transform that. No? You don't think so?
No.
You don't think he dumps the thing in soap first?
I guess before creation there was destruction and just use a bubble blower and it just shoots it at people.
Hey,
nah, man.
He's a kid's best friend. He's the dragon that everybody loves
you
to party
want him
with.
hanging out with your kid?
He blows bubbles,
you want
he's not gonna melt your house down. He's gonna entertain your kids, and they're gonna run around pop bubbles.
Why do you think the bubbles do 7 damage?
I don't know, man. Genesis Dragon hits harder than most followers in this game, and yeah, I don't know. Bubbles just that's what confuses me, right? Like Genesis Dragon's like pow, but then it's just like bubbles. I don't know. I'll get off the bubbles thing. It blows my mind. Okay, that's all I gotta say.
That's what the bubbles do.
All right, they're heading into game 2. Mana Surge's red takes the first one, so his Dragoncraft list is out of the picture. Has to rely on neutral forest. And Underwear is left to his own neutral forest list and his D-shift list just hiding away in the back, but he doesn't want to run into that matchup just yet. Let's see if he can make it work.
That's right, and this is interesting. So the one interesting point I'll make about Underwear's neutral forest deck is that he kind of went a little sideways on the neutral package and went with 2 Lizas in the deck as probably some counterplay to Dragon or other decks that are just trying to kill his bigger followers. I find that a very interesting include. I mean, it's a good card, but we don't normally see it in neutral forest.
Well, Liza is going to be pretty decent in this particular matchup. Protects against those Elf Twins assaults, can protect against the airbound barrages that he knows that his opponent has, can also protect against... Actually, I guess that's kind of it. Well, it could
Hector.
Randomly protect against Hector and Israfil. Those are options.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, I think
a well-timed one.
Yeah. I think it's really just going to come down to who lands Beauty and the Beast. And right now, Red's looking very primed to be the one to do that.
That's right. And it's interesting, too, because a pre-evoed Beauty and the Beast will not die to a defensive evoed Beauty and the Beast. So the person who gets one down first is definitely in the lead.
Yeah. This is, in this particular matchup, the mirror really literally comes down to who gets Beauty and the Beast down first, because that basically dictates the rest of the match.
Now, in saying that, if you can put together enough tempo in the early game to essentially say, hey, Beauty and the Beast, if you come down, I can actually just kill you, then you can kind of like waylay that a little bit, but not very likely with these neutral forest decks. I mean, they don't play a lot of small followers. They don't play a very, crazy tempo curve, and they kind of just play super slow. So it's not likely.
Now I gotta ask you a question. What do you think of Underwear's pre-Evo? I don't agree with it.
Realistically, the only reason I can think of it is he's trying to force out Evos from Red, so that the Beauty and the Beast fights get a lot easier. But yeah,
well, he can trade.
Defense...
No shame.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say a 4 defense follower isn't really going to stop anything like an Elf Twins Assault, or it might not even matter for the most part. But
well, he can at least go trade for trade with Beauty and the Beast here. He can Evo his and trade into Red's Beauty and the Beast and not kill his own.
that's right.
Which
and this will require an Evo.
Yeah, it will require an Evo. Can't play Elf Twins Assault on it. Can't play Lyrio Evolve.
Well, never mind. Saaquell Bahamut can do that. That's actually one of the reasons why you play this combo.
I didn't even see the Saaquell in his hand, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that feels bad.
So this just becomes very reminiscent of old Ramp Dragon. It's a lot slower, obviously, and they don't have any of the storm tools. But it's just going to be a slugfest from here on out. Now that Beauty and the Beast has kind of been dealt with and we're getting into the later turns, it's realistically just who can slam down the last big threat.
That's another Beauty and the Beast. That's gonna have to get dealt with.
No shame.
Yep.
Currently, Underwear doesn't have a card in hand to do that.
That's true. This is the turn. Actually, yeah. Right before Israfil can be played.
Oh, boy.
That Bellringer Angel, man. This is what I'm talking about. Bellringer Angel, so friggin' good, okay? Now, if that was a staircase to paradise, nowhere near as good. Just say it.
Yeah, I agree. That Bellringer Angel literally just ruined Underwear's life. Oh,
now another Beauty and the Beast can come out. Uh-oh.
Do you feel bad yet?
Uh-oh.
And another one. And that Bellringer Angel is protecting two Beauty and the Beast.
Yep.
Red with the what? Yeah, the Red got the draw.
It's not over yet, though. This Israfil can do... Well, actually... No, it can't. That Bellringer Angel...
Bellringer Angel just ruined this game for Underwear, man. It literally ruined this game.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it will be dealt with, and we are going to get into the later turns. But it's crazy how much work that card put in.
Yeah. Beauty and the Beast is so amazing, dude. Yeah, but
now it's Bahamut Wars, and honestly speaking, Underwear is winning the Bahamut War. He also has an Israfil.
Yeah, he is winning the Bahamut War for sure. 100%. But Red's like, I'm not playing him.
Right.
It's not happening.
Those will be the last cards played out of hand for sure.
So now this is very interesting. We literally went through like a roller coaster here. We went, man, Underwear's in a terrible position. Underwear's great position. like those three Beauty and the Beast, they did so much work, but right now I just don't fathom a way where I'm sorry, go ahead.
Where Red wins, yeah. The funny thing is here, Underwear took the old approach of, you know what, I have two Bahamuts, and I'm gonna pray that you don't. And if mine sticks, I'm gonna win this game. Oh my god!
My goodness! Oh my goodness! What a draw, dude!
Wow!
Oh,
that's gotta feel amazing.
Yeah, he basically has to be breakdancing right now.
Yeah.
Because. Oh my goodness, dude!
That's one of those breakdance top decks, absolutely.
Yeah, he has to be doing some backflip, pop, lock, and whatever. He's got to be doing everything.
The funny thing is Underwear was kind of playing like the hands were revealed. Like, he had perfect information. Like, he made the correct choice when it was given to him. And then he got, he got one-outered, essentially. He's just like, he doesn't know it, though. He doesn't know it, though. Yeah. He'll know it later when he watches the replay. And now I don't see a way how Underwear wins. That Israfil is too big to be dealt with.
Ooh. Well, look at that!
Okay.
This is what I was talking earlier!
Slugfest.
Oh my goodness. This is what I will call, for those wrestling fans out there, a slobber knocker. This is a slobber knocker match. This match is seesaw as it gets. Loving that Liza, by the way.
I'm here, everyone.
He's gonna play
Plays
both
the
of them.
second one. I don't know if I agree with that play, but I guess it might not matter.
Well, the thing is, the Israfil will end up going into the Sahak field, right? So,
I
but
think
he
it'll
won't
just
be
go
able to
face.
Yeah,
I don't think he needs to trade here.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, he's at 1. Never mind. I'm not talking. So, I don't know what he does. That's not gonna do it. Not gonna do it.
I don't feel like he respected the Israfil enough last turn. I think playing all of the Pure-Hearted Singers, I get drawing cards to try to, like, you know,
Actually,
draw
he
into
cleared
the
board.
last comment or something. Now he can.
He can.
Okay, never mind.
So
Pure-Hearted
he
Singer.
can play
I'll eat my words.
Yeah. He can clear the board, that's for sure. Oh man, this game is so seesaw.
Yeah, I like
So,
it. We
so
must have said I don't see how this player wins every single turn, and they keep drawing into
Yeah.
ways to win the game. I love this.
I love it too. This is exactly what I want to see.
What I was saying though is I don't think he gave Israfil, like, if he didn't draw into that Grimner right now, right? I don't think he gave Red's Israfil enough respect, and by playing all those Pure-Hearted Singers might not have had enough to clear board to kind of stay alive, but with his draws, he's getting there.
Yep. Yeah, he is in a great position. This Lucifer is gonna put NWORK. Ooh, and he draws a deuce. Yeah, this Lucifer and a Bell Ring Ranger of his own.
This is better than
Man,
the old Dragon matchups. You know why? Because there's no ramp and just stuff in it.
Yeah. Cards going tick for tat.
And the card I talked about at the beginning of the game, Liza, realistically might have won this game for Underwear.
Yeah,
that
dude!
little tech.
Yeah, dude.
That little
As
bit of
I
tech.
told you, it protect against Israfil, and that's exactly what happened. That literally saved this game for Underwear. I think it literally saved it. Liza. So for the people who don't know what Liza actually does, as fanfare, all of your allied followers cannot be damaged by spells or effects until the end of your opponent's next turn.
Underwear didn't see lethal this turn.
He missed lethal. Yeah.
He missed lethal.
I think. Yeah.
Is that going to come back to bite him?
I don't.
No.
No.
Okay.
He's good. He's good. Red's good.
Whew.
He knows. He knows.
With the
that
way these
they'll-
players were drawing, though, man, like, missing lethal on one turn, like, that top deck Bahamut, right? Could have just completely changed that game again, so, woo.
Man, that was a seesaw match, dude. Like,
That was crazy.
really accurate. I love games like that. Give me more games like that, guys, please.
Yes. And now Underwear gets a very weird matchup, right? He's got to play the neutral forest deck, or against it with his D-Shift deck. Of course, if Beauty and the Beast is drawn, this game gets super hard. If it's not drawn, this game is super easy. So, we're going to see.
Well, he has a
never
D-Shift, and there's... okay, all right. Gut check, right? If you're red, do you keep Beauty and the Beast?
155% I keep Beauty and the Beast in my opening hand.
Excellent.
Are you kidding me?
All right, on the same page. Good. I would snap keep Beauty and the Beast. Like, there's no way I wouldn't keep.
I would snap keep 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You literally
Very
don't have to play a single card until Beauty and the Beast to win this matchup.
Yep.
Like, in my mind, I wouldn't even play Spring Green Protection to open up a kaleidoscopic low target.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I wouldn't have played that.
Like, this is one of those matchups, and I'll talk about D-Shift so you guys can kind of understand how to play against it a little bit better. If you don't give D-Shift any targets for any of their spells, it will slow them down. When you're playing something such as Beauty and the Beast, or Seraph, or, you know, anything that you just need to wait in order to get going, all you need to do is buy time. It's the same thing the entire D-Shift deck is about buying time, right? If they can't cast their spells, then they can't get to their late game, and then you just win. So I'm not saying Red's playing poorly. I'm just saying there is a complete avenue of victory or a game in which you can play against D-Shift where you don't really need to do anything.
Well, he's decided to go the aggressive route and risk being kaleidoscopic.
However,
this is not necessarily wrong, but it could blow up in his face.
I won't say it's wrong. It's more of a preference. I think that you get a slight advantage by not playing anything. However, getting extra damage in early also gives you a different type of slight advantage. And realistically, Underwear doesn't have any of the spells that target anyway. He's kind of got a junky hand right now.
Yeah. He started with a pretty promising hand, but one of the things that D-Shift tends to do almost better than every other deck is break.
You play so many cards in your deck that have play point requirements of 9+. Yeah. Sometimes you're going to run into hands like this that Underwear has where you just can't cast any of them.
And that is a big Lyrial. That Lyrial is going to town.
That Lyrial is about to die a horrible death to this Chimera, though.
Yeah, but that was still a big Lyrial.
Yeah.
Well, goodbye board. Hello Chimera.
That's right. And as long as Red can clear this off, which he absolutely can with Hector, then his Beating the Beast will actually just be able to sit behind a ward, and he'll feel super comfortable for the rest of this game. He's kind of at that point.
I like this pre-Evo. Makes it super hard to kill this. He can't Evo an Owl into it, the trade. The Chimera forces another I mean, if he played another Chimera, he would have to Evo it because it wouldn't kill it that way either. That's a very good play by Red.
I think that's a winning line of play. Essentially, playing the Hector out, pre-Evoing it, having the Evo left over for Beauty and the Beast next turn is literally just, I win the game now.
Yep. Now, as a D-Shift player yourself, or a person who's played a lot of D-Shift, like, when you're playing against your opponent, do you ever feel like those pre-evos when you're playing against them are just really, really hard to deal with or very detrimental to your play?
Always. It's the same way I play against D-Shift. Like, basically how you beat D-Shift with a tempo deck or an aggro deck is you Evo fast and soon. You use every single one of your Evo points when you can, but you try to avoid evolving cards that cost 2 or less because of Kaleidoscopic Glow. And that's really about it. You just Evo as much as you possibly can to just make their early turns as hard as possible, because that's before they get going. Later in the game, they have access to Fiery Embrace and all this other crazy stuff. Early in the game, they have to build up their Wind Blasts. They have Magic Missiles and Angelic Snipes. Like, not always enough to deal with anything that you're doing.
It's fair.
But Underwear is about to take a big juicy L to the face and be out of the tournament.
Yep, he's about to go away. He can't go home because he's already there. He's about to go away.
That's right. This ward is not enough protection. And that'll be it. Sorry, Underwear. You ran into your death matchup, and now you're going home.
Mana Surge Red takes the win, and we'll move on. Underwear is not going to be able to attend the World Grand Prix as a player, as a competitor, and just ran into some very, very rough matchups. The neutral forest deck kind of working really, really fantastically against Dimension Shift, and he drew all the Beauty and the Beast that he needed.